Fonzie after 5.
Welcome back to another episode of Fonzie After 5, my ode to late night 90s call-in radio with a holiday twist. Tonight, I am so happy to have with me the wonderful Nicole Heaston. Welcome, Nicole. So tonight I have with me Nicole Heaston. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me right before Christmas. And can you tell me where you are joining us from tonight?
I am joining you from Katy, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston.
And how long have you lived in Katy, Texas?
Since 1995, when I joined the Houston Opera Studio.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
and
I never left.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Chicago.
Wow, I did not know that you were a Midwesterner. I thought maybe you were. That's fantastic. What part of Chicago did you grow up in?
Hyde Park, South Side.
Yeah, that's kind of down near University of Chicago, right? Or
I went to the University of Chicago for elementary school.
No way.
Mm-hmm. From kindergarten to 8th grade.
They have an elementary school right on the college campus?
It's called the Laboratory School, yes.
Ah, that's such a beautiful area.
It is. It was, I mean, I got a great education, but it was also like every time I come home, I always drive by because it was just such a beautiful campus. And, you know, just that my husband and I, because I went there and my mother also went there, she got her master's there. We were able to get married at Bond Chapel on the property. Because if you went to the school, you can use the property at any point. Oh, let me turn off my phone. Sorry.
That's so, wow, that is so neat.
Yeah.
What did your mom study when she was there?
She was getting her education degree.
Okay. And what subjects does she teach, or does she I don't know.
She was a pianist, and so she had went to school for music, and then my father wanted to go to law school, so that kind of turned her life around where she became a teacher herself. So she taught music, but then she wanted to get a little bit further and become a principal or a counselor, which she ended up doing. So she ended up going back because she had her master's. She had a master's from I think Loyola. but I know she went to Roosevelt too, so I think the master's came from Loyola, and but then she went to the University of Chicago to get a degree there in education.
Wow, I mean, that is a true like Chicago story right there. I mean, she hit like all the
hit all the local places.
Do you have memories of Chicago as a kid, like during the holidays? Did you guys venture out to see, you know, did you go to Michigan Avenue or do any of that stuff?
That was the best part, Michigan Avenue, and watching the windows, you know, because I could see the little animatronics going, and that was just always my favorite thing. My grandmother would take us down there and we'd stop off at Garrett's. And back then they used to serve like, and they started back with them, but they used to serve these like popcorn balls, and you can get a little, it'd be candied flavored and stuff. And we just walk down the freezing cold of Michigan Avenue and do that. That was the best.
Oh,
I love Marshall Field's had the best, always had the best.
Window display?
Oh, their display was the best. Carson's was good, but Marshall Field's was great.
Oh, and do you have brothers and sisters? Would you all go together? Or?
Oh, yes. I have one sister. She's 6 years younger. We'd all go down there. But even once I got older, you know, when, you know, I became a teenager and didn't want to hang with my family as much, my friends and I would do it. We would get, you know, go see all the displays on Michigan Avenue. And then we would take the bus down to Water Tower and like go shopping and all that type of stuff.
Oh,
I loved growing up in Chicago. It was so much fun. I hate my kids don't have that type of freedom here like they do. Like, you know, I mean, as a kid, you know, I don't think I saw my parents at all. Like if I came home, they were like, yay. So
they were like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you need something?
There was no pressure, you know. It was good.
Yeah. So when you were little, did your parents decorate the house? Were you a festive holiday kind of crowd?
Yeah, you know, my mother kind of like put into my mind what Christmas should look like by me doing the absolute opposite of what she did. My mother, And I mean, granted, I was looking back on it, I think it was beautiful. My mother used to have the same fake tree every year, and she had gold ornaments, and the tree was just completely gold. And it was not a lot of decoration, around the house or anything like that, just that gold tree. And I just remember growing up saying, I'm getting a live tree when I'm an adult. I want to smell, the pine smell. I want all of that. And my colors are going to be, all that. So like my house, like Christmas is thrown up over my house, all over it. I have 4 trees. I have, it's like my whole house is just red, white, and green, and like a billion Santas everywhere. So I went the absolute opposite of my mother. But the thing was, it did come back, is that I used to buy live trees, and I loved that. But my husband and I have this tradition where, in my family as well, we all exchange ornaments every year. And we got to the point, we had so many ornaments, by the time you got to close to Christmas, a live tree would start to wilt. And so the tree was like, and so it was like just slumped over and looked horrible. And I was like, it doesn't look good. So I was like, you know what, we're going fake. So we bought a really nice fake one, and all the ornaments stay where they're supposed to. We put little stuff in to make it smell like pine, and we're good to go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So compromise of what my mother and I did.
Do you have any ornaments that stick out in your mind that you really like, that you've gotten during this ornament exchange? Any special ones?
Yes. There's one of my son that is my absolute favorite. And he has this weird look on his face. They did it as a ornament for his pre-K, but he looks so cute, and it's one of my favorites. And then another one is the one that my husband gave me, and it says, "You better not pout." And I put in there a picture of my husband. Now, my husband usually smiles all the time, but we were bowling. And I remember we were bowling, and I had on why I was wearing a dress bowling, but I was. And I was sitting on his lap, and and he's like, so that's always center of the tree, always.
Oh,
every year.
And how old is your son now?
14.
Oh, so that's a decade-old ornament already.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any food-related traditions when you were little?
Yeah. The way it used to roll at my house is that, and I mean, I'm going to say this because my grandmother won't see this, because she does not do internet, but my mother's mother was a fantastic cook. And usually on Christmas morning, we would have to go to church in the morning, and my mother would have to play. And, I would go through the whole rigmarole of, sitting at the church for a little bit. But afterwards, we would go to Granny Little's house, my mother's mother, and we would eat there. And she would make the best turkey and dressing. And it was just, the food was just so good. So we'd eat there. And then later on, we'd have to go to my father's mother, Granny Heaston. She didn't cook as good a, Christmas dinner. So by the time we got to there, we were full with Granny Little's food, and we'd just be like, this is so good, but I just can't eat anymore. So that was our big Christmas tradition. You had to eat at each one of their houses, and you just made sure you got it in Granny Little's house, and just like pushed around stuff on your plate at Granny Heaston. She made a great hamburger. Her hamburgers were legendary, but her Christmas dinners, not so much.
Oh, that's funny. You would have been better off just doing like a Christmas hamburger tradition. Then it would,
I would have loved that.
So what made her hamburgers so good?
I don't know. I swear to God, it was like she would make these burgers, and they were just the best burgers. It wasn't like the meat was the best meat or whatever, but she would just throw that burger on, and she would even make them for breakfast sometimes. Like, like it would be like a sausage patty. She'd be like, "Oh, let me make you a burger for breakfast." And it with eggs. It was just. And the way way she lived on the west side of Chicago, she lived in a 3-story house that was owned by my great grandmother. So her middle sister lived on the first floor. My great grandmother and her younger sister lived on the second floor, and she lived on the third. And their families all lived there. And while she made the best burgers, my great aunt Flora made the best French fries. So it was like when the burger was on, we'd be like, "Flora, so it was like the best. That was great, but Christmas dinner, no.
Oh, that's a sweet memory, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when you were little, did you do Santa?
Oh God, yes. Yes, I was big on Santa. I remember when I was starting to kind of think maybe there was no Santa Claus. My mother took a picture of, all the gifts once she had laid them all out, but it was in front of our big bay window and a reflection just came off. And so my mother showed me the picture. She said that, just that bright light, she said, that's Santa flying away. And I was like, and I was like, and that stayed with me. I was like, Santa's real.
You're like, good enough for me.
Enough for me. And I mean, I was telling people, I was like, that is his sleigh leaving. You can see it through the window. And then when I got older, I realized it was just a flash. So.
I wonder, do you think your mom came up with that in the moment, or was that something she planned?
Oh, no. I think she probably came up with it in the moment. I think it was just a dumb luck thing. And she's like, oh, that's what that is.
I'm sure you've had some moments like that as a mom where like, you've got to come up with something quick. And like, sometimes it's, it's like, it's there and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And those are the best moments when you just come up with something really quick on the fly and it works for them. When my kids we do a big Elf on the Shelf thing with our kids. And a couple of years ago, they were, my daughter's 17. I still do Elf on the Shelf with my kids. I mean, because they know that Pep and Nigel are not magic, but they still want all of the drama. So, but a couple of years ago, they were both like, this isn't real, like my son was kind of feeling it, he was, I think it was maybe 5th grade, 6th grade or something like that. And we went out of town. And when we were out of town, we took the elves with, like, the elves showed up in our refrigerator. I did a 12 days of Christmas thing. So it was like the maids of milking. So they opened up the refrigerator in the hotel and there they were with coats on. And it was like ice cream. I had the hotel bring ice cream. It says, so we milked some cows and we made ice cream for you guys for breakfast. You guys can have ice cream for breakfast. So, but the next day they were gone. And I think it was the 9 ladies, whatever it was, the ladies, the next one was ladies dancing and they were gone and they didn't see them. And my husband and I had filmed one of our elves dancing, like we just hooked it up with with some fishing wire and we had it dancing. And so it was like, I had my sister text it to them, like, and changed her name on there and says from Nigel and Pep. So I was like, hey, Nigel and Pep sent you guys a text. And so they looked and all of a sudden and she was going to Beyonce's Formation. And so you just see her just posing, the doll posing and stuff and then you just see her bouncing and twerking and dabbing and stuff. And they're like, I knew it was real. I knew it. And I was like, I've done my job. It was very good. They fell hook, line, and sinker for it. They loved it.
But I mean, you must have had a blast, like, making it all happen too.
Oh yeah. My husband and I do that together, and he tends to be a little bit more risque with it. Like, he literally had her dropping it like it was hot, and that just cracked me up even more. And I was like, yeah, we're using that. I was like, that's what we're putting in there. We had a snowball fight yesterday. The elves brought snowballs from the North Pole. And so we had like 360 snowballs, and they invited some friends over, and we had a big snowball fight in the park. 70-degree weather.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. How did you make snowballs?
There's a place called Bahama Bucks that makes, like, little snow cones and stuff like that. And they sell snowballs. You can buy them in a case. Oh my
gosh, that's genius.
We do it every other year.
That is genius.
Yeah. And what was really touching is when I picked up the snowballs, I bought 6 cases, and the guy said, thank you so much for doing this. He said, this is why we're staying open. And I was just like, man, I just hate that it's so bad for everybody. I was tempted to, even maybe do some for maybe like Christmas Day or something, like have my niece and them come over and we'll have another snowball fight or something like that. But they was like, thank you so much for doing this. I was like, hey, we're having fun. I'm glad you guys are still doing it.
Like, when you think back to when you were little, do you remember getting any presents for Christmas that were particularly awesome? Like anything that maybe you asked for, or anything that you still have, a doll or stuffed animal or anything like that?
I would have to say anything Barbie. I was a huge Barbie fan. The thing I asked for every single year were Barbies and an easy bake oven. I don't know why I needed a new one every year, but I was like, something that I really had to have. I don't know why. Now I'm thinking back, I'm like, what happened to that every year? But every year I got one. I remember the one gift I never got. I think that sticks with me more than what I did get. I always wanted the Barbie dream house. And every year I would get that Toys R Us mailer, and either I'd circle it or I'd make a list and I'd put the price next to it, like, and I'd put it up at the top. I'm like, this is what's the main goal here. And never. And I mean, literally, I remember I think a couple of years ago, I went on eBay and I saw it. And I mean, from like, it's a 1979 or 80th. And I'm like, Barbie's California Dream House. And I'm like, I was tempted to buy it as an adult just to say I finally got that dang on house. Oh, I love it. But my mother was like, I am not spending $200 on a house. Sorry. No.
Yeah, Santa has limits.
But it's funny. You said that Santa has limits. My son, I asked him, I said, what do you want for Christmas? And he looked at me with a straight face and said, well, if you could, I would take like $2,000. And I just started laughing hysterically. And I was like, I'm not getting you $2,000. I said, why would I give you $2,000? Okay, fine. $1,000. And I'll have dad show me how to put $500 in stocks. I said, oh, really? I said, well, what's the other $500 going to go for? He said, oh, that's just for me. And I was like, you're insane. I said, I would never give anything like that to you. But he said with a straight face, like with all like, y'all got this. I want $2,000 for Christmas. I was like, no.
See, I mean, I think it was kind of genius because he started high, knowing that he was going to have to negotiate down. You know,
he negotiated all the way down. He was not even close to his top. So, but that cracked me. So when you said limits, I was like, really? I mean, I could not stop laughing. It's so funny. I was like, you are lost your mind.
I'm actually going to ask you, the Barbies you had when you were little, were there black Barbies available? Like, did you get to have those?
Okay. There were black Barbies and I had them, and I had the white Barbies too. I had all of them. I had Latino Barbie. I had whatever came out. But I did have the black Barbies. But there was one Barbie, and she was the African Barbie. And she had a red dress and a little short afro. And I ended up getting her. And then I don't know what happened to her. She just went into the ether. Just, I think maybe last year, they came out with a new version of her where she, more updated red dress. The afro was more, natural hairstyle like today. And they also were selling the old one from the 1970s. I bought both of them. I got them both in a box in my house. I was like, I had to have her again because I remember loving her because she was so different. Because one thing, when you had the black Barbies just looked like white Barbies, just with dark skin. They had straight hair, they looked just, and I mean, even the face was exactly the same. It wasn't until the 90s, maybe late 90s, where they all of a sudden started making their lips fuller or their noses, or where they started to change the face, where they weren't just taking a black Barbie and taking a white Barbie and painting her black. Yeah. Took a long time to get to that, except for the African Barbie. She was different.
Oh, and now you have her again.
Oh yeah.
It's been interesting as I've been doing these, I've, asked the question about presents, and a lot of women have brought up American Girl dolls.
Ah, yeah.
And it just, I feel like, and I mean, this is probably just a thing about getting older. As a kid, as a white little girl, I wasn't probably thinking, oh, there are girls out there who don't see themselves in these dolls, and then I remember they came out with Addie, but yeah, it's just an awareness I didn't have as a kid that now when I've been asking people, looking back, I'm like, wow. I mean, obviously there's always, we always have so far to go, but to think now that little girls can have dolls that look more like them, or, I mean, it's just, that's huge. And it makes me so happy to think that's changing in that way for girls. I think it's
still hard. It's still hard. I remember I got into a very heated argument with a man at Walmart, with the manager at Walmart, because I went to Walmart when my daughter was young to get Christmas stuff and get dolls. And I went to the doll section and there were no black dolls, not Bratz, not Barbie, not anything, whatever doll there were no black. And I literally walked to the front of the store and I was like, where's the manager? And so they brought the manager, and every single cashier and bagger was black. And so I asked the manager, I said, there's no black dolls here. And he was like, well, if it comes in, usually what we'll get, if we get a box of 20, maybe 16 of them are white, 2 are black, one's Latino, and then one's maybe something else. And I sat there and I was like, so none of the people in your store can shop for their own children? And it was funny. I remember the the guy bagging his stuff. He went, "She right." And I was like, I was so pissed. I said, I will never come in here and shop again. And then went across the road to Toys R Us, and they had tons of black dolls there. And I was, and from that point on, I only shopped at Toys R Us for my kids' toys. That was it.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
good
I
for
was
you
like,
for saying something. I mean, unless someone says something, it's never going to
Mhm.
change. Well, do you are there any presents that you remember getting for your kids that were like a really big deal to them? Anything that was really fun to give them?
oh, let me think. Oh, well, I would say definitely last year getting my daughter her car. That was the funniest reaction because she had been wanting a car and she kept thinking she was going to get one. And we had bought it like a week or two before Christmas and had it parked at somebody else's house. So Christmas Day, you know, we opened all our gifts, you know, because we do it in a row. Like my mom and dad would usually be here, and my sister and brother-in-law, and we're all sitting in a circle, and everybody opens one gift. So we got to the end, and I think Morgan had realized, she's like, okay, there's no car coming, whatever. So then we handed her a little box, and it had a key in it. And this time we had moved the car to my neighbor next door, her driveway. We just handed her the box. She saw it and she literally leapt over the couch. It was out the door. We were like, wait, where are you going? She was, and I mean, she jumped out of there and she just started clicking around until
She's like, where is it?
is she got in the car and drove off. We were all sitting there like, like, she didn't even have her license with her or anything. She was gone. So that was so memorable. It's so hilarious. I mean, she sprinted out like, yes. Because she said, I totally thought that I wasn't going to get it because she kept, it was her fault. She kept pushing off, going to get her driver's license. She missed her birthday. And so we were just like, well, we'll wait until you get your driver's license and we'll get you a car. And then Christmas came, we were like, yeah, we're good. We'll wait until later, But then, I mean, that was hilarious. She got in that car and drove away.
And you've never seen her again. She's
still never come back.
Well, I feel like you set the bar pretty high. No wonder your son is asking for $2,000.
So.
He's like, when's my day coming?
Very true. Very true. There's some validity in that. I can hear.
How will you be celebrating this year?
This year, I went to the store and bought smaller cooking pans so that I can, not cook as much because I just don't want all that food in my house. I've lost 40 pounds and my husband's lost 50, and we've been working out, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is sit there and have my favorite foods in the house like that, my dressing and all that type of stuff. So I'm going to cook, and like I said, have my sister and brother-in-law come over and have them sit outside to eat. And we'll just do our normal thing. I think what we're going to do is do a family Zoom so that we can all see each other and, maybe even cook together or definitely open up our gifts and all that type of stuff together.
Nicole, thank you so much for talking to me about your family and traditions and everything. It was just really, really great to see you. Before we go, what song would you like to request and who would you like to dedicate it to? I would like to request I'll Be Home for Christmas. And I would like to dedicate it to my parents because every Christmas we're usually always together. And unfortunately, I will be home for Christmas, but my home, not theirs. So I just would like to dedicate it to them. All right. Well, here you go. Here is I'll Be Home for Christmas. Hi, Nicole. It's me, Emily, here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I am going to be singing I'll Be Home for Christmas. And this is dedicated to your lovely parents. And I hope that even if you can't all physically be together at home this Christmas, that you find joy in the spirit of home by connecting with each other another way. So have a very Merry Christmas and a happy 2021. Love it. Cute necklace and earrings too.
dreaming tonight of a place I love even more than I usually do. And although I know it's a long, long road back, I promise you I'll be home for Christmas. You can plan on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the light if only in my dreams. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams.
That was really nice. That made me unexpectedly sad. I didn't think I'd get that emotional with it.
Well,
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. I mean, it really, I am home for Christmas, and it made me emotional to sing it. Because, yeah.
But it made me emotional on a couple of levels because one, it was beautiful and it was very heartfelt. But it was also, I was thinking about what you were doing, how you're trying to interconnect singers and have us sing for each other. And so and that was very touching to me as well. That when you were singing, I was like, Emily Fons is singing to me. You know, Emily Fons isn't saying to me since she's saying to me for as our Carabino. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, so that was very, very touching. So thank you very much. Thank you.
And seriously, thank you right back at you for being a part of this, because watching everybody receive their songs has been like, I've cried almost every time. It's just so strange. It's like, it's what we do. We're always around music. We always hear each other, but somehow it's different. And it's,
Yeah. I
don't know.
like I said, I didn't expect my reaction to be that. I didn't expect. That was lovely.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. Well, thank you so much for talking to me tonight. It really, really, truly was really nice to see you. And I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to you. And I hope you enjoy your Christmas outdoors and indoors with your family.
You as well.
Bye, Nicole. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you again for joining me for tonight's episode, and a very special thank you to Nicole Heaston. It was an absolute pleasure to sing for you and your parents. Nicole, I hope you enjoy any of your snow cone snowball fights yet to come, and your indoor-outdoor Christmas extravaganza with your family. Merry Christmas, everybody, and remember, it's after 5 somewhere.
Fonzie after 5.